You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. All right, folks, welcome to a very special and very exciting episode of the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. We have a very special guest I'm going to introduce here in just a minute. I'm going to keep introductions short. We have very limited time with Goldie, but I do want to say hi to everybody over in the chat. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and most importantly, I think this is one of the most important episodes that you could share. So please share this. We've been talking about the plight of the Iranian people on this channel since the beginning of this and much longer than that. My heart goes out to what is happening to the people of Iran and living under the homicidal, psychotic regime that they live under. And I've been wanting to get someone on that can tell us more about that. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and invite Goldie. Thank you so much for coming on and welcome to the show, Goldie.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm thrilled to be here.
If you will, just take a minute, introduce yourself, and then we'll get right into it. You know, like I was telling you before the show, I can sit here and ask you a bunch of questions, but I think most importantly, I want to hear what you have to say and what you think the American people need to hear about Iran and what's going on over there right now and has been going on really for 47 years.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, my name is Goldie Ghamari. I was born in Iran, and my parents escaped to Canada when I was a year old. Been back several times when I was a child. I haven't been back in about 15, 16 years now. And I'm a former politician, former international trade lawyer, and very, very outspoken about Islamic regime and oppression of the Iranian people. And, you know, one of my main goals in speaking out about occupied Iran and the oppression of the Iranian people is that, you know, many people think that Iran is the enemy. Iran was never the enemy. Prior to 1979, Iran was actually one of the biggest allies of the United States. And it was only when the Islamic regime occupied our country in 1979 with the help of Jimmy Carter and the Democrats, which is fortunate, that Iran turned into the 7th century Islamic hellhole that it is today. And so what we're seeing today happening in Iran after 47 years of Islamic occupation, this really is a liberation movement. And we Iranians were so grateful to President Trump and the United States for helping us liberate our country and rectify the mistake of Jimmy Carter and the Democrats.
Now, in a perfect world, like where would you like to see this all play out?
Well, in a perfect world, obviously regime change, right? We want to fix the mistake of you know, what happened in 1979 with Jimmy Carter and of course the UK and France and others. But we just kind of want to go back to where we were prior to 1979, when Iran was a free, secular, democratic country. And you know, that's exactly what President Trump has said. That's exactly what people like Senator Lindsey Graham and Senator Marco Rubio, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and of course Senator Ted Cruz have said. And one thing that's really important here is that President Trump and his administration have made it very clear that ultimately regime change is at the hands of the Iranian people, but they are here to make sure that after the military strikes are done, that Iran does not fall back under the hands of Islamists and other terrorists. And that's something that we Iranians, we align with and we agree with.
What do you think the percentage? I find it fascinating how much of the information of what's happening in Iran and the oppression of the Iranian people, I find it fascinating how much of that information is suppressed by mainstream media and, quite frankly, even independent media. Like hardly anyone is covering this whatsoever, and it's always politicized for sure. Like, what do you think is the percentage of the Iranian people that would like to see regime change?
90%.
Really?
90%. Well, I mean, there's a reason that the internet right now has been shut off in occupied Iran. So, ever since the conflict started between the United States and Israel versus the Islamic regime on February 28, the Ayatollahs shut down the internet. So, 90 million Iranians right now are cut off from the rest of the world. They have no ability to speak and share their opinions. The only reason that we're getting any sort of footage coming out of occupied Iran is thanks to Elon Musk and him donating Starlink. So Elon Musk has actually played a very pivotal role in what's happening right now in terms of liberating Iran and helping with regime change. If we did not have this Starlink, we wouldn't even be getting like the small amount of videos and footage that we are coming out of occupied Iran.
Now, we obviously know that the Trump administration is continuing to slow down, obviously, a lot. The military operations and the strikes that are taking place. What do we see still happening with the Islamic regime and, going after people, going after the people of Iran? What's happening with them right now?
Well, the strikes actually haven't slowed down. In fact, they're intensifying. The footage that we're receiving every day, we're seeing more and more Islamic regime bases, whether it's police police stations or businesses that deal with the Islamic regime. And when I say police station, I just want to make this very clear. Every single police station within the Islamic regime is part of the dictatorship, right? Because we're not dealing with like a normal country here. So a police station in occupied Iran is not the same thing as a police station in the United States, for example. I have a lot of respect for police officers in Canada, United States, in Western democratic countries, but we don't have like a regular, normal police force in Iran. They're all part of the regime. They all work for the regime. They're all there to suppress people. Think of like a 1984 Orwellian dystopia on acid. That's what the Islamic regime basically is. So the strikes are in fact intensifying, and every day we're seeing more and more footage. And this is actually really helpful because what President Trump said on February 28 when he announced the attack against the Islamic regime is he actually had a message for the people of Iran. And he said, to paraphrase, when we are done with this military operation, Iran will be yours to take. And that will be your once in a lifetime opportunity to reclaim your country, take your country back from the Muslim Nazis that are currently occupying you. And that's how you can liberate yourself. So that's exactly what's happening right now. The targeted strikes are continuing. We're seeing more and more defections. And the Islamic regime is pretty much collapsing internally.
Yeah, we just had at least one embassy defect recently. I hope to see more of that happen. What's happening as far as organization of resistance on the ground? Is that underway? Is the United States helping with that? I know there's again, coming from special operations, I'm aware that the Kurds are up north, potentially talking about coming into basically do combat operations, ground operations there in Iran, basically on the behest of the United States, among others. What kind of organization is happening for a potential revolution?
So President Trump made it very clear that the Kurds that are outside of Iran are not going to be involved in any way, shape, or form. That's actually very important for the Iranian people because a lot of these Kurdish paramilitary groups
Mhm.
are not exactly your best friends.
Sure.
A lot of these Kurdish military groups are, their roots and their foundation comes from communism. And I know that the Kurds played an important role in Iraq, for example, but that was more of a situation of the enemy of my enemy is my friend type of thing. In this situation, one thing that's really important for Iranian people is our territorial integrity. And we actually do have a very, very big Iranian Kurdish population, but the Iranian Kurdish population, they're Iranian first, just like all of us. And so President Trump has made it very clear there's not going to be any outside Kurdish involvement in occupied Iran, because a lot of them do have sort of a separatist element to what's going on. So that's not even a thing. That was actually, I remember like it came out in the news media. It was like a 24-hour news cycle. And then President Trump made it very clear he has no interest in getting any like outside involvement from any sort of external paramilitary groups. The reality is that the Iranian nation is very united. We're all, different ethnicities, different religions, different backgrounds. I myself am from a small ethnic minority called the Lors, the Lor Bakhtiari. So you don't really hear about the Lor Bakhtiari because, of course, we're not as big as some other groups. But if there are any plans to arm people inside of occupied Iran, may very well be the case, but I haven't heard of these things. And I would have a feeling that if this is happening, they're probably keeping it on the DL. But what I do know for a fact is that there are no outside groups that are going to be involved in this.
Interesting. Are you aware of anyone inside Iran that is currently mobilizing and actually, organizing some sort of resistance force?
So we have heard of a lot of defects within both the military and, of course, within the IRGC. So there are thousands and thousands of defections. And my understanding is that they are laying low for now because everyone is waiting for the signal from the leader of the Iranian National Revolution. That's the Crown Prince of Iran, His Royal Highness Reza Pahlavi. And when he gives the signal, that's when people are going to rise up and go out.
Gotcha. Now, there's a lot of controversy or a lot of discussion, at least, around the Shah's overthrow. I know a lot of people, especially on the opposite side of this discussion, are trying to make out, and maybe so. I'm not super well versed in the history of Iran, but a lot of people are saying, "Hey, look, the Shah was just as brutal as the Islamic regime." Give us some insight into the truth of that and what you expect with his son essentially coming in. Like, if the Islamic regime is overthrown, do you think that the crown prince is going to come back? Is that like the best case scenario in your mind? How do you think that's going to play out?
So the people who claim that the Shah was a dictator, they suffer from something that we call PDS, which is Pahlavi derangement syndrome. And I think that's something that you are very familiar with because a lot of people in America deal with woke lefties and communists who talk about Trump derangement syndrome. And they try to portray Trump as this, evil, criminal, blah, blah, blah nonsense. And as we know, it's TDS. So we Iranians have been dealing with PDS for a very, very long time. The truth is that the Shah of Iran was actually a very, very close friend and ally of the United States administration. And I don't know if you've seen the interview from Richard Nixon. There's actually a 15-minute video that the Richard Nixon Foundation posted a few months ago, I believe, where Richard Nixon is talking about the Shah of Iran and saying how Jimmy Carter made a huge mistake. The reality is that the Shah of Iran was a progressive. The Shah of Iran actually gave women the right to vote in 1963, years before women in Switzerland, for example, had the right to vote. So, how could someone who gave women the right to vote in 1963 be a dictator? So all of this is just leftist, communist, Islamist propaganda that unfortunately has permeated the mainstream media because unfortunately the victors write history. But we Iranians, we know who the Shah was, and there's a reason that the vast majority of Iranians, especially inside of occupied Iran, support His Royal Highness to come back to Iran and lead the country, transition the country from an Islamic dictatorship to a functioning secular democratic society. Now, I want to be very clear about one thing. Iranians are not saying that we just want to go back to what it was before. What the Crown Prince of Iran has said is that he's willing to lead a transitional government. And this transitional government will transition the country from an Islamic dictatorship to a functioning secular democratic society. Now, what sort of secular democratic society that's going to be, whether it's going to be like a republic like the United States, or whether it's going to be a constitutional monarchy like Canada, that's going to be up to the Iranian people in a national referendum. So, what we're saying with the return of the Crown Prince of Iran is he's not coming back as the Shah, he's coming back as a temporary transitional leader. And the reason that we trust him is because he is the only one who has been fighting consistently to free Iran. And he's always been committed to a secular democratic society. And he's always said that the type of democracy that Iranians have is going to be up to them. But what he is committed to is separation of religion and state. He's also committed to democracy. And he's also committed to the respect for human rights, which is what we all want.
We understand that, under the Islamic regime, everybody is basically essentially forced to be Muslim.
Mhm.
What percentage do you think that if tomorrow we have a complete revolution, like what percentage of the people do you think that that's sincere? Like I know the Iranian people, when it comes to religion, are extremely diverse, but obviously aren't able to currently practice the way that they would like to.
I would say probably less than 20%.
Really?
If even that, if even that. I mean, the vast majority of Iranians are pretty much atheist. We're culturally Zoroastrian because Zoroastrianism is, part of our part of the roots of our Iranian identity going back 3,000 years. But what's really interesting is that Christianity is actually the fastest growing religion in occupied Iran right now. However, many Iranians who've converted to Christianity, they actually have to practice their faith in secret in underground churches because under the Islamic dictatorship, the crime for apostasy is death. And so, if you look at the official stats, even if you look up, Google or ChatGPT or whatever, the official stats will say that, Iran is 99.9% Muslim. Well, that's because Iranians have no choice. They have to say they're Muslim, otherwise they'll be executed.
That's insane. Talk a little bit about how brutal the current regime is. Every time that there is, stories like we just had Salah Mohammadi the other day that he was hanged among other people for the most minor of things. Like every time I get one of those stories, I try to post that to spread awareness. Like what is the ground reality for people on the ground when it comes to having to deal with that?
The brutality of the regime. If I was going to share with you some of the things that they have done, I think it would be very difficult for people to understand. Let me give you one example.
Sure.
Before the Islamic regime executes a woman for, whatever crime, and the crime is usually, uh, 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 the crime is, if I was going to translate it, it would be like muharib, which is like enemy of Islam. So that's like the most common crime for people being executed in occupied Iran. So
And that could be for simply protesting or
yes. So
uh,
anyone who protests, anyone who peacefully protests, because they want to live in a free and secular democratic society, the Islamic regime considers them an enemy of Allah, and they can be executed, and most of them are. So, for example, if you're a woman, before the Islamic regime executes you, especially if you are a young woman, like a young girl or a teenager, before they execute you, they rape you. And the reason that they rape you is because they believe that the soul of a virgin goes to heaven. And so they rape you before they execute you, especially if you're a young girl in your teens, to make sure that your soul does not go to heaven.
it's wild. So just recently, we had the Iranian soccer team, the football team, that openly protested there in Australia. I was blown away by the fact that Australians didn't step in, other people didn't step in. What do you think life is like for them right now?
So when they returned to occupied Iran, the Islamic regime did this whole big, like, celebration of them coming, and they were all wearing like hijab, and they put flowers around, like wreaths around their necks and stuff, and that was just basically a song and dance for the outside world. Life for them right now is hell, because as soon as they returned and this video, this fabricated video, propaganda video came out, then the media's attention moved on to something else, and so these women are probably now being tortured. We don't know what's going on. Many of them actually had to return because their family members were arrested, and the Islamic regime was threatening to murder their family members if they did not return. So even though 7 of them had initially claimed asylum, 5 of them, just randomly changed their minds and went back to occupied Iran. And we know that they changed their minds because their family members were being threatened. So we don't know what's going on with them. We don't know if they're safe or not. Again, there's no internet inside of occupied Iran. So we're all praying for their safety. But the reality is that the only way we can guarantee their safety and the safety of everyone else is by destroying this regime once and for all.
Yeah. I see right behind you, you have a Israeli flag back there. Talk a little bit about the relationship with Israel and the Iranian people. So I know that's very controversial.
So, well, I mean, I don't know why that would be controversial because, and I guess unless if you're like an anti-Semite or someone, but
It's very controversial on the internet right now when it comes to, what people are basically saying at the moment is that, look, Israel forced Donald Trump to take action in Iran. I think there's so much to look at to say, hey, that's not true. And look, there's a long history of this is so past due. Again, I did 2 tours in Iraq, especially in '08 and '09. We were constantly losing people left and right because of the EFPs that were coming across that border from Iran. Very well engineered, specifically engineered. EFPs are not easy to make, and they needed Iran to create those, and they were killing Americans left and right. They were maiming people. Iran is responsible for thousands of American deaths all around the world, and they cause so much issues with all of their proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the idea, separate from everything that we're talking about, to me, the idea that Israel is forcing America's hands or is just leading Trump around by the nose is just absurd. But that's why it's controversial, I guess.
I mean, I 100% agree with you. I think it's very insulting and disrespectful to President Trump to claim that Israel is leading President Trump around, especially by the nose. I think that's something that Chunky Yogurt said, or I don't know, Anna Kasparian, or I don't know, one of these like weird people.
Sure.
The reality is that President Trump made it very clear, because I think he was asked about this, and he said that this was his decision, and in fact, if anything, he's the one that convinced Israel to join in. The relationship between Israel and the people of Iran is a very long one. Iranians and Israelis have been friends for thousands of years. Our friendship and alliance goes back to well before Islam was invented. It goes back to Cyrus the Great, the founder of the Persian Empire, when he freed the Jews from their Babylonian enslavement, took them back to the Promised Land, which is Israel, and helped them rebuild the Second Temple of Jerusalem. So ever since then, Iranians and Jews have always had a very, very strong allyship and friendship. And prior to the Islamic dictatorship taking over our country in 1979, aside from Israel, Iran was the second safest place for Jews to live because we had freedom of religion and everyone was respected. So ever since the Islamic regime took over, of course, they began their death to Israel, jihadi nonsense. But Iranians and Israelis, we never forgot that friendship. And up until this most recent administration with President Trump, the only country that really stood by the Iranian people was Israel. And that's because there's also a lot of Iranian Jews who had to escape the Islamic regime when they took over in 1979 and they went to Israel. So, regardless of the anti-Semitic propaganda out there, Iranians and Jews are incredibly close allies. We're very, very grateful to Israel for everything that they are doing. And, a lot of this propaganda, this anti-Israel nonsense actually comes from the Islamic regime itself. So I have a feeling that once the Islamic regime is overthrown, we're also going to see a huge decrease in the anti-Israel propaganda because a lot of that is funded by the Islamic regime and their never-ending jihad against Israel and the United States.
Yeah, that's something I've been covering a lot of. Look, I think there is a very clear concerted efforts and engineered psychological operations that are happening. I think it's very obvious on the internet. I bet you're attacked by bots just the way that I am.
I have more than that. I have a bounty on my head. I have a $250,000 bounty on my head from the Islamic regime.
Look, nobody likes a one-upper. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just joking.
Hey, all I'm saying is that the FBI actually used the death threat that I got in an affidavit, in like a deposition. That
No, I
Islamic
don't doubt it.
regime websites.
Like, being a former Iranian and speaking out against the regime, I mean, they don't play around. But I do think it's important for Americans to realize how involved with messaging and with. I just feel like whether we're talking about Russia, China, or Iran, and many other Islamic states, by the way, what they're doing, using the way that they're weaponizing and using social media, I wish the United States would pick up their game because they're kicking our ass. And a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, a lot of the ideas, a lot of the false narratives that are put out, these people are directly behind it. They're very sophisticated. They're very good at it. They're doing it en masse. And anything that information you can provide to kind of add to that, please feel free.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they've been doing this for a very long time. Listen, the strategy of the Islamic regime is divide and conquer. So one of the things they were very good at doing for a long time is making Americans think Iranians are the enemy. We Iranians, we've never been the enemy of the United States. In fact, we love the United States. The biggest population of Iranians outside of occupied Iran is actually in the United States. And that's because when the Islamic regime took over, many Iranians escaped to the United States. My father actually, this was in the 70s before the Islamic regime took over, but my father basically spent his 70s in Texas. Where he went to Texas Southern University, and so Texas is sort of like my second home in a way.
That's where I'm from originally.
Pardon me?
That's where I grew up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Beaumont.
There you go. Yeah. So I still have a lot of family and friends in Texas. So and that was the biggest propaganda that the Islamic regime was able to get away with is making Americans think that Iranians are your enemy. And that's because they've always controlled the media. So, whenever people thought of Iranians, they thought we were a bunch of jihadi, durka, death to America, whatever. Meanwhile, they have been holding 90 million Iranians hostage. And that's why right now, what you actually see in America, especially after President Trump attacked the Islamic regime, you actually saw millions of Iranians, not just in the United States, but around the world, take to the streets to thank President Trump for going after the Islamic regime. So, and this is the worst nightmare of the Islamic regime because their propaganda in trying to make Americans think that Iranians are the enemy has failed. And President Trump knows that. He actually put out a few White House videos where he shared videos of Iranians saying, "Thank you, Trump," and, holding signs of Trump, President Trump. And so, President Trump knows exactly what he's doing. All of us Iranians, not just in the United States, but around the world, and especially in occupied Iran, we are so grateful to President Trump. I can tell you right now, President Trump is probably more popular in Iran than he is in the United States. So
I believe
he
that.
probably has like a 90% approval rating right now in the in occupied Iran. And so once Iran is free from the Islamic regime, and we can go back to being a normal country like we were prior to 1979, I think Americans are going to be very pleasantly surprised by how welcoming and receptive we are, because ultimately we're Iranian, we're not Muslim. We're a completely different culture. We're a completely different civilization. And, our values align very closely with American values. In fact, when Thomas Jefferson was writing the American Constitution, he was inspired by the values of Cyrus the Great, who was the founder of the Persian Empire. So I think Americans are going to find out that we have a lot more in common once Iran is free.
What is the case that you would make to the American people? Like, hey, we need to see this through, and we need to make sure that we do everything that we can to at least help the Iranian people overthrow the Islamic regime.
So I would say that President Trump is not starting a war. He is ending a war that the Islamic regime started 47 years ago when they took over the country of Iran. And it began with the hostage situation, which is absolutely horrific. And then, of course, afterwards, the bombings in Beirut, and then you had the IEDs in Iraq as well. But more than that, when you look at all of the proxy terrorist groups as well, right? You look at Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. There's a lot more damage that the Islamic regime has done. But even more than that, look at what's happening in the United States right now. You have a whole bunch of people that have been radicalized. And these are like, woke, lefty, I don't know what, but they're going around and they're holding signs of like Khamenei, who's like basically the modern day Hitler. And they're praising a brutal Islamic dictatorship, which to me looks like treason. A lot of that has to do with the funding that the Islamic regime has provided to indoctrinate people in the West. So I would say to American people, one of the best ways that you can protect America from jihad and from this Islamic invasion is to make sure that you destroy the Islamic regime, because the Islamic regime is one of the biggest state sponsors of terrorism in the world. And not only do they sponsor proxy militia groups, but they also sponsor NGOs and organizations in the United States that contribute to rising radicalism.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And that's, again, one of the things we talk about all the time. Like, we have got to put an end to this invasion of Islam into the United States, and this idea that, like, Islam is somehow superior to Christianity, something that Tucker Carlson was just talking about, essentially.
Yeah, he's insane. Tucker Carlson has lost his mind. I try not to pay attention to what he says because he's absolutely insane. Do you know that like the Islamic regime actually plays his TV shows on Islamic regime state TV? That's actually something that myself and my co-host on my YouTube channel, we broke that live. And then we recorded that and we exposed that. But yeah, like guys, I mean, I would just say, like, do not allow anyone to tell you that you need to have this like multiculturalism and diversity nonsense, because we already tried that in Iran back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And eventually it got to a point where the Islamists and the communists became so powerful that it only took about 10% of the population to turn our country into a 7th century Islamic hellhole. And now we've been paying for that, trying to free ourselves for the last 47 years. And we've paid for that with blood and tears. So, guys, like, don't be afraid to say that not all cultures and values are equal, right? Like, when my parents immigrated to Canada, we became Canadian. We adopted Canadian values, right? So,
Assimilated.
yeah, like if people immigrate to your country and they don't want to assimilate, kick them out.
Yeah. No, I wish I could take everybody. So I was born in Michigan in the Detroit area, and I grew up in Texas. My dad still lives in Dearborn Heights, and I still go up there from time to time. And I make it a point to drive around Dearborn and just look at what's happening there, folks. I wish every American could see what's going on there. It is Islam has not approved any country anywhere in the world, and we have a free American society here in the United States. It used to be a lot more free. I mean, look what's taking place in Europe. This is a disease that's spreading, and it is completely antithetical to everything that America was founded on: our principles, our people, our culture. Just like she's talking about as far as assimilation, it is the opposite of all of that. It's the opposite of freedom. It's the opposite of individual liberty. All the things that we as Americans once held sacred, it is being eroded, and our guard is being eroded little by little with all the nonsense, just like she was talking about, like this idea that diversity is our strength. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I
Unity is our
agree.
strength.
And
Assimilation,
I say that as like an immigrant woman from Iran. This
yeah.
whole diversity is our strength nonsense is garbage, and it just, just get rid of it. And you guys also need to have to, ask yourselves, um, do you think that you could right now, do you think you could move to like a Muslim country and take some Bibles with you and stand on the street corner and start preaching about, Christ? Do you think they would allow that?
No, I know they won't.
Exactly.
I've spent a lot of time in Jordan. I've spent a lot of time in Turkey.
There you go.
Obviously, Iraq and Afghanistan. I used to have a timeshare there. Um, but yeah, like folks, I don't know what to say. Like we're losing our country a little bit at a time. That's what's taking place. Well, look, Goldie, I know we promised you 30 minutes. You've given us more time than that, and I appreciate it. I'd love to have you back on to talk more about this. But I think
Anytime.
I appreciate your courage. I appreciate your voice, and I think you need to move to America. Get out of Canada.
You know what? I kind of do. Like, I need to like claim asylum and like come to America. I just have to do it legally so that ICE doesn't kick me out. But with the way things are going in Canada, I need to like move to the United States soon, I think. So
Well, if God forbid we lose the 2028 election, just come through the southern border. You'll be fine, and we'll get you asylum. You'll be good. We'll get you health care. We'll get you a EBT card. We'll get you. You'll be living large here under a Democratic administration for sure.
there you go. You know what?
Any
Well,
final
with the
word?
way things are going, you might have to claim asylum in Iran when Iran is free. Because when Iran is free, we're going to be the most Islamophobic country in the world.
If Iran gets free, I'm going to visit, and
Good.
we'll go out there. And I would love to sit down and interview people that spent the last 47 years under this regime as a warning for what can happen here in the United States, what is happening in Europe. And like people got to wake up and just, I mean, the threats are obvious. We just want to stick our heads in the sand and pretend they're not while we listen to people tell us, no, this is what's good for us. No, that's how we end our society.
Yeah. I agree.
Any last things that you'd like to share with everybody out there?
I just want to say thank you so much to you, everyone else, for having me on. It's so great to be here to share my perspective, and just God bless America, God bless the U.S. military, and I can't wait until Iran is free and we can welcome Americans back to Iran with open arms and to rekindle the friendship that we used to have before Islam turned our country into a hellhole.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And if you got to go, we'll let you go. If you have time and you want to stick around and answer some questions, you're welcome to do so. Just again, I want to be respectful of you and what you got going on over there.
I appreciate that so much. Okay, I can stick around for 4 minutes to answer maybe one or two questions, but then I do
Sounds
have
good.
to go.
We will do it. Let me run through here real quick. We'll get to some. Number one, we got love you, Goldie and Armin.
Oh, Armin's my co-host. You should have Armin on.
I would love to have him. I would love to have
Yeah,
him. I don't know
Armin.
why
You
you're
know what?
hiding from me.
Armin's watching right now, because Armin is actually live streaming this on our channel because I have to go back to our live stream. So
Awesome.
that's why you see all the Goldie Army people in here, because everyone on my live stream is here to support your channel.
Love it. Love it. Thank you very much. Loves Goldie, Armin, Tusi, their analysis and information they share from and about Iran. Learned so much since December from them.
Thank you.
Looking through here, I see a lot of statements. Islamic Islamic Republic of Iran is blameless, fighting against satanic devil worshippers, ungodly, lying sinners, Zionist regime in the Middle East.
Yeah, those are the Durkas, right?
Yeah, coming to you live from Iran, probably, by the way.
No, not Iran, because the internet's shut down. They're usually from like Pakistan or Bangladesh or somewhere. So either like Palestine or like Bangladesh or Pakistan. It's not from Iran. These people are not Iranian.
Actually, we want Goldie. That's what thousands of Iran inside Iran chant and died for. That's what they wrote with their blood. Long live the Shah.
Yeah, they want the Shah to return. That's true.
What millions of Iranians inside and abroad are chanting is return to constitutional monarchy. Inside Iran, people literally wrote with their blood, long live the Shah. So it's not correct to say Iranians don't want to go back to what it was before 1979.
Yeah, so that's not what I said. Iranians do want to go back to 1979. That's what I personally want as well. But we have to be respectful of what King Reza Pahlavi is saying. So the Crown Prince of Iran has said that he's returning as a transitional leader, and it's going to be up to the Iranian people to determine in a national referendum whether they want to, go back to 1979 or whether they want to have a republic. So that's the information that I'm repeating because that's what he has been saying. But I mean, the vast majority of people, it's true, do want to go back to a constitutional monarchy, myself included. And that's why I have this flag on top of my head, because that flag represents a constitutional monarchy.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just common sense to say or suppose that people don't like what's happening now, and that's what they have to reference going back. So obviously that's what they want to go back to. If, again, the Crown Prince wants to come and present something else, ultimately what we're saying is the Iranian people should be able to control their destiny, and that's what he's offering. And I think that that just makes sense. So, well, listen, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, this was awesome. It was nice to meet you. You're also a comedian, right?
A comedian?
Yeah, aren't you a comedian? That's what I heard somebody say in the...
I mean, all politicians are comedians, so there you go. All former politicians are comedians, so there you go.
Somebody said that like you did stand-up or something like that. But anyways, I don't know. Maybe I misread something. Anyways, I appreciate you coming on. I hope you just continue to advocate anything that we can do. If there's anything that you ever want put out that we can share, that we can push, like please reach out to me or Jen.
Absolutely, I
will
will
help you in any way that we possibly can. And hopefully one day when Iran is free, you and I can link up in Iran and start making sure that people are aware of what really happened the last 47 years.
Absolutely. More than happy to do that, and more than happy to come back on at any time.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we'll let you get out of here, Goldie. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. Thanks, everyone. All right. Take care.
You too. All right. Folks, that was a lot of fun. Hopefully that was enlightening. I do want to go through some of the comments and things like that. As a matter of fact, Jen, what'd you think? Number one, great job. Folks, that was because of Jen, the producer.
Thank you. I love Goldie. She is amazing. She is what a lot of the commenters were saying. She is a badass, and I appreciate her coming on, and I appreciate the Goldie Army coming to join us over here, and we just love all of you, and if there's anything we can do to support you guys, we absolutely will.
Absolutely. Hopefully you guys see us as a friend, and yeah, we're all about it. You know what I love about her? She just demonstrated the American spirit of what it used to be. I mean, my God, if we had more people like her in social media that were Americans, that had the courage that she has to stand up, and don't get me wrong, there's obviously many people out there, but we just need more of that. And this woman, unlike Candace Owens, is actually under a state-sponsored death threat, not just some made-up French Foreign Legion, one Israeli nonsense. So, very inspiring to say the least. And here we are, so many Americans, we're scared to voice an opposing opinion online because someone's going to make fun of us. Got to get some backbone back in America. That's what we need. I'm going to go through and just hit some of these super chats, and we'll try to get to as many questions and comments as we possibly can. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, Jen, you had a great video that I wanted to you wanted to play, and I wanted you to play that as well. So let's throw that up there. Talk about that.
این طراحی کردن قطعا برای این قضیه پلن بیوسی هم دارن. اونم اینه که ما حتما یکی از چیزایی که به ذهن من میرسه خسارت این اتفاقات رو باید از همین کشورهای مرتجع منطقه بگیریم و تنبیه بشن و بدانن هژمون منطقه و قدرت منطقه کدوم کشوره. و من مردم عزیزم تبریک میگم. مردم ما بدانن که ما بعد از این وارد مرحله جدیدی شدیم در تاریخ ایران به عنوان یک قدرت بین المللی و یک ابرقدرت جهانی شناخته خواهیم شد و تاثیر این جنگ قطعاً به نظر من تاثیر جنگ 8 ساله ما بیشتر خواهد بود. من اگر اجازه بدید به عنوان اولین کسی باشم که افتخار داشته باشم با رهبر بعدی بیعت بکنم و همینجا اعلام بکنم درخواستی که مردم دارن اینه که ما بریم به سمت ساخت سلاح هسته‌ای و یا بسازیمش یا این سلاح رو تهیه بکنیم.
So there we go, folks. One of we've had another Iranian official the other day saying that they were definitely going for a nuclear weapon. Iran's telling you what they're doing, but yet we want to hear mouthpieces on the opposite side of this sit there and try to tell you, no, Iran, they don't want nuclear weapons. Don't worry about the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah. Don't worry about all the times they've attacked Americans. Don't worry about everything, the atrocities that they're committing on their own people. No. We need to get Trump out of office. We need to get Democrats back in office to make this country better again. We need to go back to mass immigration, illegal immigration. We need to go back to everything that higher crime rates, more drugs coming into this country, killing people by the tens of thousands every single year. That's what they want you to believe. And they want you to believe that Israel's the enemy, not Iran, in spite of all the facts. Some obscure YouTube moderator renewed his membership, I think. You better always be a member. I'll pay you, Ben. You're a great moderator. Lucas Raiseworks, thank you, buddy. We always appreciate you. You know what, Lucas? I'm going to call you tomorrow. I have an idea, and I need to run it by you. I need your expertise. I'm going to give you a call tomorrow. But Lucas says, been a crazy, busy week. Have not tuned in. Looking forward to this. Thanks, Gary and Jen. Love you, Goldie and Armin. I don't know how to say his last name. Thank you, B. Huff, just for the love. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to see you brought Goldie as a guest. I love her. She's taught me so much about what's really going on with Iran, Goldie, and Armin. Yeah, like, don't you guys think it's crazy? And don't you see the reasons behind it now? Don't you think it's absolutely nuts of the information that's being suppressed when it comes to what's actually happening in Iran? And forget about just the fact that they're actually trying to, number one, they're building ballistic capabilities that no one expected. We had a missile that was capable of going over 4,500 kilometers. They've been saying that they don't have, and we've been told by experts, by the way, experts have been saying, no. Their ballistic missiles are only going like 2,500 kilometers. They don't have these capabilities. And it's very telling for anybody that knows what's going on. They're developing a nuclear program in parallel with a ballistic missile program. What do you think they're trying to do, morons? They're trying to make sure that they have an intercontinental ballistic missile that can attack the United States, or at a minimum, which they already have the capabilities, to attack most of Europe. So people need to wake up and quit being so, I mean, it's suicidal. They're so political, they're willing to commit suicide. National suicide. Like, no, I want my belief system to be true, even at the expense of our safety, security, both home and abroad. Like they are so hell-bent on their ideology, whatever it is, the woke right, the left. Again, it's one big globalist agenda, two different packages. Globalist agenda for the left, same globalist agenda repackaged for the right. It's nuts to me. Like, I will never forget when the Shah's regime fell and Iranian students flooded the community college I worked at. This is when I learned of Persians, their culture, and their hearts. Free Persia. Forgive me for saying she's a beautiful woman. Nobody else was thinking that. I definitely wouldn't think that or say that. My wife would murder me. She is a beautiful woman, though. Hi, everyone.
I'll say it for you. She's gorgeous.
No, she just objectively is. Well, I didn't know Golsa is invited to Gary podcast. Her real name is Golsa. Oh, look at that. I didn't know that. Well, she's invited. She's going to come back. Dennis Leiden, he's going hard into the paint. Yeah, folks, if you're not doing so already, make sure you guys go follow Goldie. Make sure you guys share this. Like, people need to have this information. Like, again, I love the super chats and I love all, becoming members. That's a great way to support the channel. The most valuable thing that everybody can do that watches this show is to share and, tell people about us. Like, hey, come jump in on the conversation just about every weekday, 7 or 8 p.m., depending on what's going on. But go follow her on all of these social platforms. I've been following Goldie for a long time. Gary has been on point with his guest. Praying Nicole Arbor is the next set. You know what? If you will, Jen, I responded to and tagged Nicole. We would like to get her on if she'd like to come on. Love to have her. Shah was a real patriot, best in our current time history. The other thing, look, I've heard a lot of information of people trying to make a case that, the Shah was some tyrant. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I bet he was less of a tyrant than anything that we're seeing with the Islamic regime. Guarantee. And look, no matter, I don't care where you look at in any time in history, there's going to be people that disagree with the current government. And there's going to be, all these different factions that are anti-governmental, anti-whoever's in charge. I mean, could you imagine if somebody, let's say 10 years from now, somebody's talking about the benefits of the Trump administration. And then they go back and they pull all of these complaints, they pull different footage. They can paint a picture that Trump was the worst president ever. That'd be so easy to do. When in reality, we know that wasn't the case. I'm not saying that's true. My point is when I see stuff on the internet that's trying to clearly create an image or a picture of what took place, I take that stuff with a grain of salt, because you can do that with anything, especially people that are sophisticated. Yeah, we need to have Armin on too. I don't know anything about him, but it sounds like if he's with Goldie, I'm sure he's great. Yeah, isn't this ironic? The left in America who claim to be feminists can't stand the thought of women not being oppressed by Islam. It really is crazy. They have no courage whatsoever. They want to talk about how Christianity allegedly in this, this patriarchy that we have here in America allegedly suppresses all women, but they have no problem just kowtowing and carrying water for every Islamic regime out there. They love Islam. They love Islam because they know that they're the enemy of the United States. Not just the enemy of our government, but most importantly, the enemy of our principles. And they see them as a friend to take this country down from a principle standpoint. Basically, kind of the U.S. democracy, the Iranian citizens are extremely smart and love the American way of life. Yeah, look, hopefully, with all the faults and all the things that I have complaints about, our founders were extremely smart. They made the absolute best system on the planet. We started off with a constitution. Like, most people don't even realize that most countries don't have a constitution. They don't have something the equivalent to the Bill of Rights. Most countries don't have something that guarantees your right to freedom of speech. Like, this experiment is so rare, and they did it so right 250 years ago that we're still standing today, and we're still a beacon of light to the rest of the world. There is no better system. And yeah, a lot of our, when it comes to our legislation, the way that people complain that it's a slow, arduous process. The founders made it that way. It's supposed to be hard to change the laws in this country. We don't want, the Biden administration coming in, creating a bunch of laws, and then, the Trump administration coming in and trying to take down those laws. Like, that's not what we want. We need some stability. And of course, they still do that to some extent with executive orders. But unfortunately, the Biden administration. Anytime a Democrat writes an executive order, it now carries the weight of law, even in the next administration. Suddenly, if the next a Republican or conservative administration tries to get rid of that executive order, we have the Supreme Court and federal courts claiming that it's unconstitutional. It's so ridiculous. This is a great question. I wish I would have asked her. Look, I know there's been numbers somewhere in the 20,000 to 30,000 range. I've even heard 40 and 50,000. I don't know if that's true. I don't know what the truth of that is. I did look this up the other day. I want to say some fairly credible human rights organizations have estimated that somewhere between 15 and 25,000. Either way, I mean, that's utterly insane.
Gary, I've had several people in the chat saying that the death toll can be anywhere between like 80 and 100,000.
Yeah, I know. You know what? Do me a favor. Look that up real quick. Like, let's find a good solid source. Look, both people on either side of this argument are going to exaggerate it, and I understand why. And maybe it's true, but look, don't buy into our own propaganda either. And look, I think there's when you have the left and the right fighting on this, the left is going to exaggerate a number, whether it's casualties in Palestine, in Gaza, and then you'll have people on the right exaggerate in the other direction one way or the other. Like, it's usually somewhere in the middle, and that's just the truth. We're here for truth. Jerry, fantastic work, pal. Goldie is a great voice for Iranian diaspora and speaks the truth that the propaganda mainstream media try to hide from the people. Respect to you. Well, thank you, Jerry. This is it, man. This is what I like. This is my dream for this channel, is like uncover the truth or talk about the truth that nobody else is covering, because most of the time it's not sexy. We could have a live stream right now talking about how great Joe Kent is and how, Donald Trump is being ruled by Israel and Bibi Netanyahu's the devil, and we'd have 100,000 live viewers right now. Not worth it.
So a human rights report just came out saying that there are reportedly 43,000 people either confirmed dead or missing.
Pretty insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and this is the problem right now. We have the information that we're getting out of Iran is coming either from Iran or sources like CNN that are just, I'm wanting to use some profanity here, but I'll just leave it like this, that are just all up in the, like, they just love Iran. Iran is giving these CNN journalists, allegedly journalists, they're propagandists, but they're giving them, tours of their missile facilities. I mean, it's just pure propaganda. And what's crazy to me is suddenly the woke right, they love CNN. They love MS Now. They like their word is gospel. They love anything the IRGC says. We can trust the IRGC, we can trust MS Now, we can trust CNN, but you can't trust the Trump administration. I'm sorry, I'm going to go with the Trump administration. All right, I'm still going to be skeptical of it. Look for evidence, but these people will just retweet the heck out of anything that comes from these sources. And if you retweet something that comes from the Trump administration, they're like, "Oh, you're just carrying water for the government. Oh, you just a bootlicker." Like, yeah, you know what? If I got to lick boots, I'm going to lick the boots of the American government, because I still trust them more than the IRGC, CNN, or MS Now. And it's not bootlicking anyhow. And I usually try to be fairly, like I'm here, like, take this for what it's worth. This is what's being reported. Sometimes I go a little harder than that. The Iranian regime, IRGC, are evil. Obviously, the Islamofascists, the people are longing to be free from tyranny. Right? And I don't know, maybe being a Green Beret, our motto is the oppressor liber, liberate the oppressed. I got a soft spot for Iran. I feel like, I bet right now, if you just went to all the armed services and especially special operations, like who here would volunteer to go free the Iranian people? Let me see a show of hands. Or, just pack your bags. We'll meet you on the runway. I bet you'd be surprised at how many tens of thousands of highly capable U.S. servicemen and women would be on that tarmac ready to go. Like, if you're going to have a war, it better be worth it. And it better be predicated on the truth. And that's what we have here. We have a genuine threat to the United States. We have a genuine threat. They've proven it time and time again. Not only are they a threat to us at home, but abroad. I don't even know why this is up for discussion. Yeah. I was just listening to a Pierce. No, it was, oh God, I can't think of either of the names right now. I'll think of it in a minute. But basically we had, oh God, the Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer was basically, somebody was asking him, hey, are we better off now that Iran's military has at least been negatively affected? And he was like, no, we're not. Like, what are you talking about? I mean, just be honest. Like, we are still better off. It's good if we have their military capabilities reduced. For sure. I mean, I don't care if you oppose all of this. Like, just be honest. Beautiful, Goldie. I was watching you when Tucker TV broke on your channel. Thank you for being with Gary and teaching everyone. Love you and Viva Iran. The amazing Goldie, Paramount. Thank you so much. I appreciate the interview so much. I'll chirp in your yard again. Well, we appreciate that. Amir the Cricket up in the house. You jump in here anytime you want, Jen. Thank you, Gary, for having Goldie on your program. I've been following her for the last 86 days of the Iranian Revolution. Yeah, and this is how suppressed all this information is. I'm constantly on social media looking for content, looking for information to share with you guys. And I've never heard of Goldie. Thankfully, it was Jen that brought her to my attention.
She's
Make it clear. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say she's an incredible voice and she speaks for women all over, but especially for the Iranian women. And it's just heartbreaking to see all of the articles about women who have been slaughtered for simply showing their hair. And it drives me insane when I see Western women talk about oppression when I know people who have been harmed by this regime. I mean, murdered, disfigured with acid, raped. It is insane.
And that is commonplace in every single Muslim country. Like the abuse of women, the abuse of kids, pedophilia, like the human rights. Look, as a Christian, I'm not a proponent of homosexuals, but you know what? I also believe in individual liberty and freedom. And God gave you free will. If that's what you want to do, you do it. All right. I'm not going to agree with that. I don't promote that. I'm not going to say that it's okay. But what I don't think should happen is that you should be arrested or killed because of it. But suddenly the left, the people that are talking about human rights, the baby murderers, they don't mind any of that stuff. To make it clear, Reza Pahlavi never said we don't go back to monarchy. He is emphasizing whatever system the majority want will be established, which makes sense, right? It'll be a fresh start. That's what the Middle East needs too. Like, I know I'm going hard in the paint on Muslims and Islam, but there is still an opportunity for us to have peace in the Middle East and still have, I don't want Islam here. You want to keep it over there, that's fine. But there is an opportunity for us to have good relations with the countries over there. And Iran has been meddling for years to make sure that doesn't happen. Just like she said, the Iranians are master propagandists. They know how to manipulate people through media like just about nobody else. Where do you think, like we've been seeing this with Hezbollah and Hamas for many, many years in Gaza? We know some of the tricks that they have, and they do. Where do you think they got that from? That is directly, they're trained, and all of that stuff is coordinated and paid for by Iran. The Middle East would be I'm telling you folks, like 90% of the problems that we have in the Middle East would go away if we got rid of the Islamic regime. And that's for a better world and a better America. It's not just having a backbone, it's the fact that a lot of Americans have no clue what's going on. I repost this in my Facebook TL timeline, and I swear nobody understands any of it. Zero engagement. Yeah, you're not wrong. And that's been the intent. I've talked about this for many years, but that's why we have such a failing school system and public education system. That's intentional. That's intentional. They want you to focus on, these silly ideas like, diversity is our strength. They want you to focus on all these social programs, movements. That's what they're teaching our kids. They're indoctrinating our kids, and they're making people dumber. And that's why they want relativism in place, moral relativism, and that is seeped into just reality relativism, right? It's not my reality. It's not my truth. It's your truth. Your truth matters, even though there's nothing true about your truth. It's how you see the world and how you want the world to be. So that's all you're going to accept. That's why you can't talk with people anymore. There is no discussion or debates because they're not coming to you with facts, and they don't care. They know there's not facts there, but it's what they want it to be and what they desire it to be. It's a religion. It's a really dumb one. They have to remove Islam so the Persians can have their country back. It was never a Muslim country. England installed the Muslims to control the oil royalties in the 70s. Trump is removing the NWO, New World Order, the globalist agenda. Persian people are beautiful. That's where belly dancers come from, hence why I love women's belly button. My God, we got to free Iran because we got a shortage of belly dancers out there. I hear you, Ranger. I love you, dude. I would love to hang out with you. Honestly, we start a marketing campaign just like free the belly dancers. Everybody be ready to go to war with Iran. I'm with you, but the women are very beautiful. You can pay Pahlavi's speeches. He has a plan. Yeah, you know what, Jen? If you got a moment, see if you can pull up one of Crown Prince Pahlavi's speeches. I would like to hear that. I've seen him here and there. I just don't know that much about him. That's not a particular element of this that I paid a lot of attention to. Just watch your interview. New subscriber. Thank you for talking with Goldie. She is so knowledgeable, and so is Armin. He's very knowledgeable, like Goldie. The Shah was beloved. He was harsh to those that were harsh. He took land from clerics and gave to poor people. He forbade the headscarves, burqas. He made sure all were educated. They were our ally. So basically, he was brutal to assholes that eventually took over the country. And when we look back and people are talking about how brutal, allegedly, right? Again, I don't know what's true or not, what's not. But I'm just saying, like, we need to report both sides of this and just stay objective with some of this information. And then you can make a decision. If I tell you, like, I love the audience. Like, you guys know more about some of the stuff than I do for sure. But that's why I love doing these lives. There's so many people that have a lot of knowledge and input on some of these different subjects. Just found you through Goldie. My son works in Dearborn Heights. We live in this hellhole and want out. Glad you mentioned it. I didn't raise 3 sons alone to live like this. Yeah, my dad lives right off of Van Born and Beach Daily. Play that for us, Jen. We're not hearing any audio, or I'm not.
You're not?
Mm-mm. Are you guys hearing that audio? As long as you guys hear the audio, I don't really care. Let me throw it back up there and I'll add it to the screen.
سالی که ما را یک گام بلند به پیروزی نهایی نزدیکتر کرد. سالی که
Yeah, there's no audio, or you need to increase the audio on the I hear just a little bit.
Sorry about that.
On the actual YouTube channel sometimes. There you go. That's the problem.
ضحاک زمانه همیهنانم. امروز سال خود را در میانه نبردی میهنی با جمهوری اسلامی انیرانی و با یاد همه فرزندان دلاور و جاویدنام ایران نو می‌کنیم. سالی که گذشت سال سازماندهی برای اقدام نهایی بود. سال شکوه همبستگی ملی، شجاعت‌های کم نظیر و فداکاری‌های بزرگ. سالی که ما را یک گام بلند به پیروزی نهایی نزدیکتر کرد. سالی که نشان داد عزم ملت ایران برای ساختن آینده‌ای آزاد و آباد استوارتر از همیشه است. در سالی که گذشت، ضحاک زمانه کشته شد و پاسدارانش هنوز نتوانستند او را در خاک کنند. در سالی که پیش روست، ما با هم این رژیم ضحاکی را برای همیشه در خاک خواهیم کرد. ایران ما در سال گذشته 10,000 تن از بهترین فرزندانش را در نبرد با این رژیم ضحاکی از دست داد. به روان پاکشان درود می‌فرستیم. در کنار خانواده‌هایشان می‌ایستیم و با آن جان‌های دلیر و با یکدیگر پیمان می‌بندیم که سال نو را به سال پیروزی انقلاب شیر و خورشید ایران بدل کنیم. در این لحظات آغازین سال دلهایمان را روشن‌تر و اتحادمان را محکم‌تر می‌کنیم.
What I do want to get, apparently Prince Pahlavi actually has a very detailed outline of what he wants to implement as a transitional government. Unlike the regime change, there is an organized option ready. So that's good to know. Maybe we can pull that up. What I did just find out is that he currently resides in Washington, D.C., which is an hour and a half from me. And apparently he has residence in Maryland as well. Jen, maybe we can reach out to Goldie. I don't know if she has contacts with him, but if we could organize a in-person interview.
I actually sent an email over to Prince Pahlavi last Thursday. So I'm waiting to hear back about getting him on the show. So if you want to do an in-person, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, if we could do it in person, great. If he wants to do it remote, maybe he wants to do that for security reasons.
Security.
That'd be great. But yeah. Paramount question. What are Gary's thoughts on the prince trying to wield political influence from the other side of the world? A challenge for him is facing the inherent risk on the ground. Yeah, I mean, that's my thoughts on it. I mean, it's really hard to do. Hopefully he's coordinating with some powerful people, both here and abroad. I mean, it's clearly a logistical challenge. I like the fact that he's clearly out in front and, you know, trying to provide a voice. And I would just wish, like, why does, I mean, here we are in the middle of this Iran conflict and everything going. Like, why is the mainstream media, I mean, at least Fox News, why aren't they interviewing him? I mean, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen him out front talking to anybody. He should be all over talking about what's going on in Iran.
He's been doing quite a few podcasts. I would assume probably because he doesn't trust the mainstream media. He was on, I think, 1 or 2 news outlets, and they did not cut a very helpful segment for him. So I think he's wary of the mainstream media.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. As like, because they know they're going to, you know, narrative frame every single time. He is a very busy man. Look, nobody's too busy for Gary Melton. Okay, you remember that. He can clear his schedule. He has been on Fox, but could do more. All right, so I clearly need to catch up on some of those. Fox's interviews with the Prince frequently, with Laura Trunk specifically, Laura Ingraham.
Laura Trump.
Oh, Laura Trump.
Yeah, she does a Saturday night show.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And if anybody has a chance, I went back and watched. I had told Gary and Goldie earlier, one of my dear friends escaped from Iran when he was 3 with his mother, and then came to the United States via Germany and ended up enlisting in the Army and served for many years in 19th Group, which is Special Forces, and wanting to understand more about their culture. I watched a lot of Iranian podcasts and documentaries on YouTube. There's some really beautiful ones about the king, and his wife was just tremendous. So if you guys get a chance, go check those out, because it really gives you the background and the history of the king and what happened.
Apparently he did a I'm going to go watch this in the next day or so. I've been trying to keep up with everything. And it's tough. I just need like 4 different. Number one, I need 4 sets of ears, and then I need 4 eyes, and then have freaking inputs going to each one of those, and then keep with all the content and information that I feel like is important. Yeah, but anyways, I want to go watch the PBD podcast with him for sure. Why do you want to be humiliated in the end and booted out? Yes, that's what's going to happen, bud. Maximus Decimus Meridius 2.0. Another troll in chat. Paramount, there's a great one of JFK and the Shah watching military drills together. Try reaching out to Pahlavi's team at New Duran. Maybe one of them would come on. Tusi had someone from there on this weekend. We'll take that, but I think we can. That's right. Fighting 20 fronts and trying to run a business and trying to be a dad, husband. Yeah, no, this I do know is true. The Shah allowed students to study in the U.S. They got radicalized to communism. Then they came back to overthrow him with the help of the mullahs. This did not end well for lefties nor Iranians. And that's what they do every single time. Like, look, communism, socialism for the weak-minded. I mean, there's a lot of intelligent. I want to say low IQ, but it's not correct. It's for the weak-minded. And you have to completely, it's an easy sell. It sounds fair. It plays on some of our best hopes and dreams of like freedom, equality, all of these things. But, communism, once you put it into practice, it never works. That's proven. We see what socialism has done to our country. We can just look at socialism as what it's done to our healthcare system. It's made it more expensive. It's made it less, the quality has gone down extremely. I bet Goldie would have a lot to say about the Canadian medical system up there. So, but it's easy to convert people to communism, and then you get them to help overthrow American ideas or democratic ideas like they did in Iran. And then now they're teamed up with the Islamists, which is exactly what we see. We see globalists, whether you're talking about the Democrats or you're talking about Tucker Carlson, whoever, they're teaming up with the Islamists, And when the Islamists actually take power, all those people are going to be killed or, imprisoned, suppressed. They're not into communism, not in the way that we think about it. PBD underestimates the crown prince. The heart of the Iranian people makes them fighters. Absolutely. You're really gaining street credibility, Paramount, with these guests lately. Keep the pedal to the metal. We will. I do enjoy having guests. I can't imagine millions of other beautiful people like Goldie being harmed in any way. The Iranian people are so amazing. What a beautiful people. New subber because of Goldie being on. First time here. Well, welcome. Welcome. All right. Jen, any other thoughts, comments, gripes, or complaints?
No, I'm just really happy with the interview. I think Goldie was amazing. I'd love to get her back on maybe a little bit longer to talk about some more stuff going on and how we can help with getting the messaging out and getting across social media and defeating the op that is clearly out there. And just, I appreciate you for being open to interviewing people from different cultures.
Yeah, speaking of that, we need to get Tal Oren back on here too. I know a lot of people wanted to, unfortunately, our interview ended because he had to go jump into a bomb shelter, but reach out to his people, see if we can get him back on as well. I think that'd be
absolutely
a lot of follow-up questions I have for him for sure.
And I just wanted to say thank you again to all of our regulars and the new folks from the Goldie Army. I absolutely adore you all.
Yep. Harold Ashcraft says, from a fellow veteran, brother, I hope your channel explodes with new subs. Well, thank you. We're going to keep, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what happens. Tomorrow I wake up, I got 10 subs. Tomorrow I wake up, YouTube is completely taking down our channel, which is always something that I'm always expecting. Doesn't matter. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. I don't care if there's 5 of y'all, 10,000 of y'all. We want as many as possible because, we're going to get you the truth. That's what it's all about. Well, listen, folks, we really appreciate you tuning in tonight. Please share this. Share this episode. I think it's really important. I think it'll change a lot of people. The way they think, the way they view what's going on, and understand that there's a bigger picture than it's just, we need to hate Israel and we need to make sure that Trump and MAGA doesn't win the midterms. A lot going on, a lot at stake for this country, and I hope people are realizing that, and I know many of you do. So share this content and figure out other ways to get involved and to help inform other people out there. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your night. We will be live tomorrow at 8 p.m. I believe tomorrow. Who do we have on tomorrow, Jen? Oh, I know who we have on tomorrow. We have Bree Dale's going to be on tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Bree Dale, folks, listen to me. Make sure you're here tomorrow. We're going to do a deep dive on Dugin, Alexander Dugin, and I'm telling you, your brains will explode. What he is doing and how he is involved, how the Russia nexus and all of this, and including him, this is the connection that's taking place between all of these different actors. He is responsible for a lot of that, and by he, I also mean Russia. So make sure you tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time. But until next time, stay armed, stay ready, and we'll talk to you soon.